It was only after you wrote the book, I would like to add, that you got the credibility in publishing to actually get glasses and truly become a publisher.
Well, to be fair, you didn't know me back then, but I did wear glasses for the first 25 years of my life.
Yeah, but were they thick-framed ones like the ones you have on right now?
They were 10 times thicker than this.
I mean the frames, not the lenses.
Oh, much, much thicker.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
yeah.
Good. All right.
Like, they would weigh like several pounds. Because it was like they were like glass lenses with heavy frames. So so I'm a real publisher. I just want to get that out in the open. I have credibility in the sheer weight of my glasses.
I'm glad we got that straight. And it's, the years that you weren't wearing glasses that's probably why you weren't necessarily being taken as seriously as you could have been.
Absolutely. That makes perfect sense.
Anyway, back to the book.
Hi, I'm Joe Beal, the founder and CEO of Microcosm Publishing. I'm also the author of A People's Guide to Publishing, which distills what I've learned from selling millions of books over the past 28 years.
I'm Elly Blue, the Vice President of Microcosm. We started this podcast to share what we've learned with newer publishers, so you can learn from our mistakes. Or maybe you just want to learn about the publishing industry.
Welcome you back this week to talk about something that I really wish I had a prop for, which is the 8 years in the making new edition of A People's Guide to Publishing.
Yay.
Updated and expanded.
This is such a publishing problem that, you really don't have visual aids until after the news cycle has ended.
Yeah, until the book has been printed. Interesting.
Anyway, you may be wondering where this podcast got its name, and it got its name from a book that Joe wrote.
Just
People's Guide to Publishing.
Way back in 2018.
Oh my gosh.
When we were younger than we are now.
What did we even know? You actually knew a lot, as it turned out. The book came out to great acclaim. Shocking acclaim. Well,
you say that like you're asking a question.
Why don't you tell the story of the book?
So, I was innocently trying to be a publisher, as I have for 30 years, when Elly suggested that both my frustration in my role as constantly being brought in as a consultant and then not having my ideas implemented, as well as realizing how much I had learned way back then at only 22 years experienced, and then said, why don't you write the definitive book about all that you know about publishing, because that book doesn't exist in a layperson terms that is readable. And I said, why would anybody care what I have to say? They kind of don't really care what I have to say when they ask or I tell them, so why would they care if it's in a book? But as Jane Friedman frequently says, books provide credibility still, and they make you into an expert on a topic. Though, for what it's worth, I think in this case, I was an expert on the topic, and it was my first experience in life of not having imposter syndrome when I wrote that book and realized how much I knew. But, so it's entirely Elly's fault. Or responsibility. You can thank her now or later.
Or, if you have any stones to throw, though, just throw them in a different direction.
Yeah, towards me, I guess.
No. Throw them into the river. It'll be cathartic.
Oh, yeah, you can raise the river as it drains. Yeah, so the one thing, I don't know, yeah, it was a weird thing to write that book because, as I was explaining to my friend the other day, I do every single thing wrong in publishing, but people want to know what I think because what I do works. So I think it's that duality of I'm completely self-taught. I came in with no education. I didn't have an internship or a mentorship. I just tried and failed and tried until I figured out what works. And then I wrote a book about that and those principles, and then obviously it was different from all the other books. Our industry is run by billionaires and conglomerates.
At Microcosm, we wanted the freedom to independently sell our books easily pay royalties, manage our inventory, and understand our business all in one place.
That's why we've been using our own software since 2001.
Now, we want to share it with you.
Working Lit is the only business success software that is created and owned 100% by publishers for publishers.
Join Working Lit and get the agency you need to help your business grow.
Visit workinglit.com to try it for free. Did the book, and immediately Kathy and Barons from Portland State University bought it at Wordstock, or I don't know if it was yet the Portland Book Festival. And she described it as the best thing she picked up that weekend. And then she brought it back to Portland State University and said, we should replace the textbook with this book. And then they did. And then that was kind of like a storm that began where lots of other colleges did the same thing. I was offered a paid position on an advisory board for a larger publisher. I began being brought in as an expert in all kinds of places that had treated me like a petulant child up until that point in my career. Suddenly people wanted to know what I had to say. I was getting near daily fan mail. I actually met my best friend because of this book. I mean, it was just an incredible moment in my career that I would not have done without Elly, because I was like, no, Elly, you don't understand. Nobody cares what I think about anything.
I saw the vision. Thanks for the flowers.
Oh.
I guess, what do you think it is about the book that resonates with people? Because there are more books now that are, there books have come in that are kind of I don't want to say copycat, but other people have seen that there's a market for
I think
books for lay people about publishing, and
I don't actually think there are. I don't think there are any other, but I don't think anybody has made an earnest effort to try to do that, partly because I think they see that it's hard. So there's essentially two genres of book there's three genres of book that are available. There's the one that is how to get rich quick as an author, which is fine.
Or just how to self-publish.
That, yeah, but it tends to be framed more as the former.
It does tend to be framed around, yes, income and how much income you can earn. Fair enough.
And then and there's an underlying presumption that publishers are thieves and you don't need them and they cheat you and you're tired of being rejected, et cetera, et cetera. So there's that. There's the truly technical books that are essentially textbooks, academic books that are very hard to read. And I can tell you that because I've read them all and they were not fun. And then there's books that are kind of about a topical element, a narrow slice of history, the rise of the ebook, or something just weird facts about publishing, but without actually teaching you how to do it, or looking at a specific moment in history, the rise of a specific press, or points that people see as pivotal. I read all of those books too.
I guess those aren't entry level, really.
And I put the three interesting facts from each one into this book, so you're welcome. You don't have to read them. You don't want to.
So why a new edition, and what's new about the new edition?
Because I read more books, and I had to summarize those. No, I'm just kidding. I had a stack of books that I was going to read for this new edition, and then I actually wrote the whole new edition before I got to reading those books. So, I don't know. I didn't realize how much I had learned in those 8 years, but I had learned a lot more than I realized, I guess. And so, a lot of that was, people began to say that there are aspects of the book that were outdated. I don't know that I agree with that, but that doesn't really matter. But that was what led me to begin to take it apart and look at it, where I'm is this? And the only thing that I really thought that I got wrong in the old book was about vertical integration not making sense in a supply chain with printing, because obviously the pandemic showed us that if you don't own a printer, you will suffer delays from 3-week turnaround to 24-week turnaround.
Well, what's new in the new book? Like, if somebody has the original edition and they're thinking about rereading it, should they get the new book and read that instead, and why?
I mean, I would do it because the new case studies in the new book are way more entertaining than the old case studies.
The funny anecdotes are one of my favorite parts of both
anecdotes.
editions.
Those are case studies. This is academia, Eleanor. The big one, and this is I'm gonna get a lot of whatever the opposite of fan mail is. I defend Colleen Hoover till the ends of the earth.
If you want to hear Joe's defense of Colleen Hoover, get the new edition of People's Guide to Publishing. It's shipping right now from microcosm.pub and wherever fine books about publishing are sold.
And, it's about 50% more words. So, you can just think about that. And I updated all the statistics. I looked into every claim that I made, and I wrote, obviously, about things like AI, which, surprise, I talked to engineers rather than CEOs. I felt the people that made AI technology seemed to know a lot more about it than people that demand that their entire staff uses AI without really understanding it. And I think that is a great place. I mean, and I think that's the difference between this book and every book about publishing that came before it, is that I'm looking at it from a critical thinking eye rather than a what is the published by numbers way of doing this.
Right, you're not passing along received wisdom, you're passing along weird stuff you've learned that actually works.
Yeah, everything I did that works is because we tried and failed and tried until we figured out a winning formula.
Thanks for joining us once again.
Please send your questions to podcast@microcosmpublishing.com so we can answer them on future episodes.
And please give us 5 stars on iTunes and everywhere else that podcasts are reviewed.
You can find us on the internet at microcosm.pub,
on Twitter at Microcosm,
on Facebook at Microcosm Publishing,
on Instagram at Microcosm_pub,
and here in Portland, Oregon on North Williams Avenue.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful week.